Abduction into the stars. The night over New York was deceptively calm. Stars glittered above the skyline, and for once Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, felt the rare stillness of Earth. But that stillness was never to last. It never did. A flicker of light caught her attention. At first, it seemed like a shooting star, but its descent was too controlled, too deliberate. A ripple of cosmic energy followed, making the air hum against her skin. Carol frowned, eyes narrowing. Then the light stopped. Suspended high above the city, the glow unfurled into a shape, an alien ship, dark and jagged, almost like a predator pausing mid-hunt. Before she could even launch herself skyward, a beam of crimson energy shot down. It wrapped around her body like shackles, pulling her upward despite her furious resistance. She struggled, photon energy crackling around her fists, but the beam was relentless, more advanced than anything she'd faced in years. The city below became smaller and smaller, until Earth itself was nothing more than a blue marble behind her. Carol was hurled into the belly of the alien vessel. The chamber was vast, lined with dark crystalline structures pulsing with light. At its center stood a towering figure. His skin shimmered with an iridescent glow, shifting between shades of obsidian and violet. His eyes burned with hunger, not for food, but for conquest. "Captain Marvel," his voice rolled across the chamber like thunder. "The galaxy speaks of your defiance. I wanted to see for myself if the legends were true." Carol clenched her fists, her defiance unshaken despite the restraints of energy still coiling around her. "Let me guess," she said coolly, her voice edged with sarcasm. "You're another Overlord who thinks I'll kneel?" The alien smirked. "Not kneel. Burn." He stepped closer, towering over her, his presence oppressive. "Your strength is a flame. But every flame can be consumed, shaped, or extinguished. I want to harness it. To bend it. To bend you." There was a sharpness to his tone, an unspoken desire beyond simple conquest. Carol could feel it, an attempt at domination, not just of worlds, but of will. Her jaw tightened. The beam released her suddenly, and she dropped to her knees before catching herself. Slowly, she rose, her eyes glowing with the power of a star. "You'll find I don't bend easily." The alien circled her, like a predator testing its prey. "I am Xytherion," he finally declared, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Scion of the Vare Dominion. I have crushed fleets, subjugated empires. Yet none defy me as you do. That makes you intriguing." Carol forced a smirk, masking the pressure of his aura. "Flattered. But you'll have to find a less stubborn target." With a gesture, the crystalline walls shifted, revealing images: Earth, her allies, the Avengers. Each projection was bound in chains of energy, symbolic, yet meant to taunt. "Your world is fragile," Xytherion said. "You may resist, but I can make them suffer until you break." Something in Carol's chest tightened, but she refused to show fear. Instead, she stepped forward, closing the space between them until she could see the faint cracks in his glowing armor. "Threaten me all you want," she said, her voice low but laced with iron. "You don't know what I've already survived." For a flicker of a moment, their eyes locked, his filled with hunger for control, hers blazing with defiance. The air between them was charged, not just with cosmic energy, but with the unyielding tension of a battle neither had yet begun. Suddenly, Xytherion raised his hand. The crystalline floor erupted with tendrils of energy, coiling around Carol's arms and legs. They lifted her off the ground, spreading her in mid-air. She struggled, photon blasts firing from her fists, but the constructs absorbed her attacks. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, almost intimate. "Do you feel it? The futility? Your power may burn, but I control the oxygen. You'll find resistance, intoxicating, but brief." Carol met his gaze, even as the tendrils tightened. If you think binding me proves you've won, she hissed, then you've already lost. Her body shimmered, the glow inside her building like a furnace. She focused, not on brute force, but on willpower, the unbreakable core that had carried her through Kree torture, wars, and betrayals. Her energy flared outward, cracking the crystalline restraints. With a roar, she burst free, landing on her feet, fists blazing with light. The chamber shook with the release of her power. Xytherion did not recoil. He smiled. Good. Struggle harder. Make me earn it. Carol launched herself forward, striking him square in the chest with a photon-charged punch. The impact threw him back into the crystalline wall, shattering pieces into shards. For a heartbeat, triumph surged through her veins. But then, the shards reformed, knitting themselves together, and Xytherion rose, brushing off the dust like it was nothing. His smile remained, sharper than ever. You burn brighter than I imagined, he said, and that will make your fall more exquisite. Carol steadied herself, her breathing heavy but her spirit unbroken. She knew this was only the beginning. Xytherion wasn't just another warlord. He was a predator who craved more than victory. He wanted submission, a conquest of spirit. But if there was one thing Captain Marvel had sworn never to give anyone, it was her will. Bring your worst, she said, her fists glowing like miniature suns. I'll show you mine. And as the chamber roared with power, the first true clash between Captain Marvel and Xytherion began. An abduction-turned battlefield, a predator and prey whose roles had yet to be decided. Chains of desire. The chamber's silence was deceptive. Crystalline walls pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of a living organism, casting Captain Marvel in a prison of alien light. She paced, her fists glowing faintly, ready to explode again, but Xytherion was nowhere in sight. Carol hated waiting. Waiting meant control was being wrested away from her. That she would never accept. A low hum rippled through the air. Suddenly, the walls shifted, reshaping into dark spires. Restraints of energy lashed out again, this time subtler, like a web tightening around her. Carol braced, photon energy flaring, but the bindings did not pull her to the ground. Instead, they suspended her midair, arms spread, weightless. You fight like a storm, came Xytherion's voice, smooth and heavy, echoing around her. But even storms fade when the oxygen is gone. He stepped into the chamber, his bioluminescent armor glowing brighter. His eyes locked on her, not just with hunger for power, but something stranger, deeper. Carol knew that look. It wasn't about battle. It was about breaking her. She gritted her teeth. If you think chains will make me beg, you've picked the wrong target. Xytherion's smirk deepened. He circled her slowly, his presence oppressive. It isn't about chains, Captain. It's about will. The galaxy bends not to power alone, but to desire. Every empire, every warrior, every soul has one. He paused, leaning closer, his voice low. What is yours? Carol met his gaze, unflinching. Freedom. He chuckled, deep and resonant. A simple word for something so fragile. I've seen freedom bought, traded, surrendered. What makes yours any different? Her fists glowed brighter, straining against the bonds. Because mine isn't for sale. The chamber pulsed, as though feeding on the tension. Xytherion raised a hand, and the bindings tightened, not enough to hurt, but enough to test her strength. Her muscles tensed, her breath sharp, yet her eyes never wavered. You resist beautifully, he said, almost admiring. Most would have bent by now. Do you not realize resistance itself feeds the chains? The harder you struggle, the stronger they grow. Then you don't know me, she fired back, her voice hard. I don't stop struggling. She closed her eyes, drawing on the star-forged power inside her. The bindings flared, cracks of golden light breaking through the crimson. Energy arced around her body, making her glow like a small sun. For a moment, Xytherion's smile faltered. Then it returned, sharper. "Yes, that's it. Show me. Burn for me." Carol blasted the chains apart, dropping to the crystalline floor with a heavy thud. She rose slowly, fists blazing, sweat on her brow but fire in her eyes. "Is this what you wanted?" she said, her voice low and steady. "Because I'll burn this entire ship down before I give you what you want." Xytherion extended his hand. The shards of broken crystal reformed instantly, swirling into a new construct, a massive blade of pure energy. He pointed it at her chest. "You mistake me, Captain. I do not want your body. I want your surrender." He stepped forward, blade humming. When the unbreakable bends, when the untouchable kneels, that is desire fulfilled. Carol's lips curled into a smirk. "Then you'll starve." She lunged forward, her fist colliding with his blade, sending sparks across the chamber. Energy clashed violently, a storm of light and shadow. For every strike she delivered, Xytherion countered, his movements precise, calculated. He wasn't just fighting. He was testing her, measuring every ounce of her will. Minutes, or hours, she couldn't tell, passed in the violent dance. Her breath came ragged, her body battered but unyielding. At last, Xytherion caught her fist mid-swing, his grip like iron. He leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper against the roar of their clashing energies. "Do you not feel it? The fire between defiance and domination. The line between hate and something else." Carol yanked her hand free, eyes blazing. "You don't get to blur that line." She gathered every spark within her, unleashing a photon blast so bright it scorched the chamber walls. Xytherion was thrown back, crashing against the crystalline throne that loomed at the end of the hall. Breathing heavily, Carol straightened. "I'm done playing your games." But as the smoke cleared, Xytherion rose again, unshaken. His armor cracked but glowing stronger, his smirk unwavering. "Games?" he said, his tone calm, amused. "No, Captain. This is no game. This is destiny. And destiny cannot be denied." He spread his arms, and the walls of the chamber peeled away like petals, revealing the endless void of space. Stars shimmered. Below, Earth was a faint blue speck. Carol's stomach tightened. She wasn't afraid, but she understood the stakes. This wasn't just about her. Xytherion wanted her spirit, because he knew that if Captain Marvel could be broken, Earth's hope would break with her. She clenched her fists tighter, light blazing from her core. "If destiny's what you want, then here's mine. I'll never let you win." Xytherion's expression shifted, still hungry, but now edged with admiration. "Then let us see," he murmured, "if stars can defy the void." The chamber shuddered as alien energy surged. Carol braced herself, her glow intensifying until she looked less human and more celestial. Chains of desire still threatened to coil around her, but Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, knew one truth above all: she was no one's to break. The true battle was only beginning. Flames of freedom. The crystalline chamber of Xytherion's warship trembled with a violent hum, each shudder echoing through the hollow core like the heartbeat of a beast ready to devour its prey. Captain Marvel hovered in the center, chains of crimson energy snapping and crackling around her body, her fists clenched tight. The alien Overlord's presence loomed in front of her, his glowing armor radiating a suffocating mix of arrogance and dominance. "You cannot resist forever," Xytherion's voice resonated like molten steel. "This galaxy bends to my will, and so shall you." Carol Danvers narrowed her eyes, her breath steady despite the suffocating energy pressing down on her. The air smelled of ozone and heat, sparks flying off every link of her restraints. She thought of Earth, of humanity looking up at the stars, unaware of the silent war raging above them. A surge of determination ignited inside her. "You've already made one mistake, Xytherion," she said, her voice sharp as a blade. "You underestimated me." A sudden shockwave pulsed from her core, golden light bursting outward. The crimson chains shattered like glass under a hammer, pieces scattering into nothing. Captain Marvel surged forward, her body becoming a streak of blazing energy. The walls of the chamber rippled from the force, shards of crystal raining from the ceiling. Xytherion swung his blade, arcs of violet energy slicing through the air. Carol twisted, her movements swift, her fists glowing brighter. Each clash sent ripples through the chamber, her golden flares colliding with his violet storms. Outside the ship's massive star window, fleets of alien cruisers swarmed Earth's orbit. Cities below flickered with bursts of resistance, fire and smoke marking humanity's defiance. Thor's lightning, Iron Man's repulsors, Hulk's roars, and Superman's flight could be seen in flashes across continents. But Carol knew the battle's core was here, in this chamber, against the tyrant who commanded it all. Xytherion pressed harder, driving her back with overwhelming strikes. His blade carved fiery scars into the walls, the ground beneath them fracturing into molten rivers. Yet Carol refused to give ground. "You want control?" she shouted, her photon energy surging like a second sun. "Then try to hold on to me." With a furious cry, she released her full power. Golden flames erupted from her body, expanding outward in a blinding wave. The chamber's crystals shattered, fragments floating in zero gravity like glowing embers. Xytherion staggered, his armor flickering, cracks forming across its glowing surface. But he wasn't finished. Raising his arms, he channeled the power of the rodeo emitter, the device embedded at the heart of his ship, a monstrous core of pulsating energy. The emitter blazed to life, tendrils of corruptive radiation wrapping around him, fueling his strength. His eyes blazed violet, his voice now a thunderous growl. "I am eternal," he roared. "I am the chain that binds the stars." Carol's chest heaved, sweat streaking her brow. The energy radiating from him was crushing, suffocating, like a black hole pulling everything inward. For a moment, even she felt the weight of despair pressing down. Then she remembered every world he had conquered, every life stolen, every cry for help echoing across the void. She remembered the people of Earth looking up at her, trusting her to be more than just a warrior, to be their shield. And she smiled. "You're wrong," she whispered. "You're not eternal. You're just afraid of freedom." She shot upward, golden flames igniting behind her, a comet of fury streaking straight at the rodeo emitter. Xytherion lunged after her, his blade raised, but Carol was faster, burning brighter than ever before. She crashed into the emitter with a thunderous explosion, her body channeling raw photon energy into its unstable core. The chamber erupted. Shockwaves ripped through the ship, tearing apart its crystalline architecture. The emitter convulsed, its violet energy twisting violently before collapsing in on itself. Xytherion screamed, his body consumed by the implosion, his form disintegrating into shards of light. Carol pushed harder, every fiber of her being pouring into the destruction. For a brief second, she felt herself dissolve into the storm, a part of the fire, a fragment of the cosmos. Then, with a final roar, the emitter exploded outward, engulfing the ship in a blinding wave. Silence followed. Carol floated amid the wreckage, her body glowing dimly, her breathing heavy but steady. Shards of the ship drifted through space, now nothing more than stardust. She looked down at Earth, its oceans glimmering, its lights flickering in defiance but still burning. Humanity had survived. A communication signal crackled in her ear. Tony's voice came through, half sarcastic, half relieved. "Nice fireworks, Danvers. You could have given us a warning." Carol chuckled weakly. "Didn't have time for a light show announcement." Thor's voice followed, booming and cheerful. "The tyrant is no more. Victory belongs to Midgard." Hulk simply growled in approval, his voice faintly distorted by static. Superman's calm, steady tone closed the channel. Earth is safe for now. Carol closed her eyes for a moment, letting the relief wash over her. But she knew battles like these never truly ended. The galaxy was wide, and there would always be others who sought to chain it. Still, for tonight, Earth was free. She opened her eyes, her gaze unwavering, her flame still burning. "Let them come," she whispered. "As long as I'm here, we'll never be in chains." And with that, Captain Marvel streaked across the stars, leaving a trail of golden fire, a beacon of freedom for all who dared to rise.